Only 19 so far. Only 19. Yeah. So good afternoon, participants. Welcome back to the afternoon session on this research methodology webinar. And the present session is on selecting the right statistical tools. Selecting the right statistical tools, navigating data analysis in project reports, followed by project report writing. That is the last session, technical session, today's webinar. And the resource person on the present session, that is selecting the right statistical tools, is Professor A. Patrick. It's my pleasure to introduce Professor Patrick. Professor Patrick has done his MCOM, MBA, PhD, and he's a qualified NET in Commerce and Management. Completed his Bachelor of Christian Studies, BCS from Serempur University, West Bengal. He's working as a professor in the Department of Commerce, Osmania University, and he served as additional controller of examinations, and also he served as director of admissions. And right now, Professor Patrick is the Public Relations Officer of Osmania University and coordinator for the Human Capital Development Center at the Center for Facility Research and Development. He has more than 25 years of teaching experience at postgraduate level and corporate training. He provided contents for 8 modules for MOOCs, massive open and online courses on critical thinking, analytical skills, learning for the National Resource Center, and under the annual refresher program in teaching through SWAYAM. Professor Patrick coordinated translation of 20 modules of MOOC contents of organization theory and behavior and 32 modules in digital marketing from English to Telugu on behalf of EMRC Osmania University. He's a regular resource person for teleconference programs, and also he is an author in so many courses of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University of MBA program. Students, if you see really seriously look at the course team of our MBA courses, you can just to see the name of Professor Patrick. And Professor Patrick also served at Ethiopia, and he's a corporate trainer and resource person at National Academy of Telecom and Financial Management, Gachibowli, a BSNL training wing, and he's also faculty member, guest faculty member at Center for Excellence of Institute of Chartered Accountants, Gachibowli, Engineering Staff College, Gachibowli, and CCA Prisons Department, Hyderabad. He's also an appointed member of NSIC, National Small Scale Industries Corporation, as a resource person. He is guest faculty at various institutions, and he has attended month Advanced Leadership Program in Thailand conducted by Hackey Institute, USA. He attended several national and international seminars and presented papers. He published a book on CRM data exploration in select banks, and it was published in Germany by Lambert Publications. He authored several textbooks in the area of business organization management, quantitative techniques, statistics, marketing, and organization behavior, research methodology, and also leadership. He is an Institute of Practical Accountancy, Hyderabad, conferred IPA Best Commerce Faculty Award in 2009 to Professor Patrick. And the areas of interest of Patrick are accounting, marketing, strategic management, quantitative techniques, and soft skills. 3 students have completed PhD under the guidance of Professor Patrick, and 8 students are currently working under his guidance. Thank you very much, Professor Patrick, for accepting our invitation and to be the resource person for the session on selecting the right statistical tools, navigating data analysis in project reports. Now, I request
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am, for the introduction there. It was very detailed, but you don't miss out. Always been a great source of support to me, ma'am. Yeah. And I think if you can do it at your end, it's fine, because I was able to connect with my laptop also, ma'am. Nothing.
Yeah, okay, that's great.
You can go ahead. You can go ahead.
Good afternoon, participants. Welcome back to the afternoon session on this research methodology webinar. And the present session is also selecting the right statistical tools. Selecting the right statistical tools, navigating data analysis in project reports, followed by project report writing. That is the last session, technical session to this webinar. And the resource person on the present session, that is selecting the right statistical tools, is Professor A. Patrick. It's my pleasure to introduce Professor Patrick. Professor Patrick has done his MCOM, MBA, PhD, and he's a qualified NET in Commerce and Management. Completed his Bachelor of Christian Studies, BCS from Serapur University, West Bengal. He's working as a professor in the Department of Commerce, Osmania University, and he served as additional control of examinations, and also he served as director of admissions. And right now, Professor Patrick is the Public Relations Officer of Osmania University and coordinator for the Human Capital Development Center at the Center for Facility Research and Development. He has more than 25 years of experience. Corporate training.
Sure, I think I can do the presentation at my end. Yeah. Ma'am, can I begin? Hello.
Good afternoon, sir. Patrick.
Yeah. Yes. Sir.
Yes, sir. You can start, sir. That is live streaming now, so that you.
Yeah, I think it was getting an echo kind of a thing. Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am, for that introduction, and a warm welcome to all the students for the session here on tools of analysis. Welcome to the students of MBA, students of hospital management, MCOM, PG diplomas, CNGO. I was there in the morning when Pawar sir was speaking. I was there when Lokande sir from HCU went about with trying to conduct various opinion polls, trying to know as to why project and how does it help out in practical applications. Maybe I missed out the connect there and I'm continuing from where I stopped. So let me just get into trying to share with you, like, statistics is a very vast subject. There are a lot of tools that are available. There are what are called as the descriptive, there are inferential tools that are there. Now, how do we go about with working out which tools, when do we have to use? That's very crucial. It's not like the computer can go about with choosing on its own. Like you have done the data collection, but it doesn't tell you which tools are to be selected. So you'll have to work out as to which tools. So I'm there to help you out on that part of it. So to begin with, this is a small analogy that there are 6 blind men who go about with touching different parts of the elephant, and they come out with different interpretation. One touches the tail and says it looks like a rope. One touches the body and says like a wall. One touches the legs and says it looks like a trunk of a tree. One touches the ear and says it's like a fan, and one touches the trunk and says it's like a snake. And one touches the tusk and it says it's like a sword. The fact is they all touch the same elephant, but whatever was there within their reach or their axis, they were trying to go about with interpreting it in their way. But when it comes to numbers there, you give the same set of numbers to various people. I think the interpretation should not be this different there. It got to be the same. Just to tell you that, I had gone about with putting out that analogy there or a parable. Now, to get into understanding the basics of statistics, now the statistical tools are methods that are used to collect, analyze, interpret, and present data. So they help in making sense of the data. So when you collect it for a purpose of research, you are allowed to identify various patterns, you test hypotheses, and you make informed decisions. So it is data-backed decisions. It's not individual decisions that you go about with doing. And the types of statistical tools that are there can be broadly classified into descriptive and inferential. If I have to put it in a very simple way, the way Rudyard Kipling said, like, how he ended up becoming a prolific author. Then he said, I have 6 wise men who have taught me all the knowledge in the world. And somebody asked what the 6 wise men are. He said, the 6 W's. So when it comes to descriptive, except the Y part of it, all other W's are important. So you don't do the cause and effect analysis in descriptive, but in inferential, you are establishing the cause and effect relationship. Like, my body is warm, my temperature is there, I have running nose, all these things, describes what is my body condition. But what is the reason behind the fever or running nose and other things? That is what we do it in the inferential part of it. So descriptive statistics summarizes or describe the feature of a data set. while inferential statistics allows us to make predictions, inferences about the population, which is based on a sample. So, this is something which is very basic. Like we don't study the entire population, but we study a part of the population, which we call it as sample. And whatever results we get for the sample, we say it holds good for the population. And that is how we go about with doing generalizations and drawing inferences. Now, not all numbers that we go about with analyzing are of the nature for analysis. So, there are two prerequisites I would tell the students there. One is to do with, you should have thorough knowledge about the numbers. How do you classify them? So there are 4 levels of measurement. You call it qualitative, categorical, and you call it quantitative and numerical. This is very essential. Now, what do you mean by qualitative is, they may look like numbers, but you can't really go about with putting them into analysis. You can express it, like, it's like you can't measure it in terms of numbers. Let's say something like you have your hall ticket numbers, you have your roll numbers. These are meant to identify, but you can't do any mathematical calculations. Let's say somebody belongs to the category of male or a female. Now, apart from classifying, you can't do anything else more than that. Or the jersey numbers that are there for a cricketer, like Dhoni wears 7 or Tendulkar wore 10, or something of Virat Kohli wearing 18. These are all things to classify. No, they are nominal. Now, when you talk about ordinal, they are ranking. Let's say the recently completed Olympics, when it was chest finish for the men's 100-meter dash. So you had numbers at 1, 2, 3. So I say this guy has got the first prize, second prize, and third prize. You can't really go about it telling by how many seconds the third person lost the gold medal. It only tells you the position. So those numbers which indicate position are called ordinal. Now, every day I get to see the papers, I read something as to what is the temperature, rainfall. I get maximum, minimum temperature in Hyderabad. So the thing is, I can find the range, I can find the mean, I can find the range in the sense difference between the maximum and minimum. And there are very minimal mathematical calculations I can do with such kind of numbers, and they're called interval. Now, those numbers where I can do all the kind of mathematical operations, they are called ratio. So I still remember one of the theses had come and a student had gone about with finding mean of gender. So he said male is 1, female is 0. He added up, divided by the number of respondents. Now that is not a sound way to interpret. So be careful what kind of tools you use. So broadly we say nominal and ordinal, we use non-parametric tests, and interval and ratio, we use parametric tests. Now let me make it very clear. When I draw a sample out of a population, like in the previous slide, if I know the parent population to which the sample belongs, I know the characteristics of the parent population, then I call the test I do on the sample is called parametric. Now I have a set of data, but I don't know to which parent population it belongs. And if I apply statistical tools on it, it is called non-parametric. So please remember, for qualitative, we use non-parametric, and for quantitative, we use parametric. And some more examples, where do we use them? So when you say nominal data, you're talking about whether you're married or unmarried, the type of car you own, whether it's a small car, big car, sports utility, or whatever it is. Or when you're talking about giving rating. So at the end of the session, probably Kishore sir or ma'am or somebody would collect how did Patrick speak, or how did Lokande sir speak, and others that are there. So you would have to go about with giving a rating on a 5-point scale. You totally agree with them, you agree, you're neutral, you disagree, strongly disagree. You give a 5-point scale, and they would collate and collect it, and they would tell me, Patrick, this is how the 27 odd people who attended the session have rated you. So the thing is, you are talking about service quality rating. So you give letter grades. These days, we are not giving marks in percentages. So we said you're O, A, or A++, or B++ kind of thing. So those kind of things come under ordinal. When I looked at a letter grade, it has got a range of marks, but it doesn't tell you what is the difference between somebody who got B and how much marks did somebody lose to get that outstanding O kind of a thing. You're put into categories. So this is where we call it ordinal. So when you say interval, I said about the temperature already. So, I said where all the mathematical calculations are possible in terms of height, age, what kind of things that how much do you spend on food, I mean, those things come under ratio. Now, these are some more things that are there, which you can check in. I have shared the PPT. So it's very exhaustive, runs into a lot of slides there. Maybe I may not do the entire thing for this session. I would keep a tab on the time part of it as well there. So the thing is, you have to first to know the nature of the numbers and then get into the analysis part of it. So you have to understand what is measurement. So the process of assigning numerical values to the attributes of objects or individuals. Like, you go somewhere and they give you emoji signs. That is how you transact with your WhatsApp or Snapchat. Your expressions of your emotions is coming in the form of images. So that is where you're assigning numerical value or those kind of things there. So how do you create a continuum wherein all the measured objects are placed or located? That is called scaling. So I've told about what is nominal, what is interval, what is ordinal, and what is ratio. So when you go through it, you'll not make a mistake of using the wrong choice of tools if you're very clear about the types of measurement. And one more thing, very important, I would wish that you read Naresh Malhotra. The book is available online. You can download it free of cost. It talks about scaling technique. So when I'm studying something, I said about the primary scales, and let me come to the scaling technique. There is something called as comparative scales, and there is something called as non-comparative scales. Let's say I do a paired comparison. I compare a Honda with that of a TVS. I compare a Complan with Horlicks. I compare a Dove soap with Rexona or a Synthol. 1-to-1. I compare one shampoo brand with the other. Pantene, I would compare it with Halo. Or when I go about with arranging ranks, like, what reason you buy a particular toothpaste, how much value you give to it. Suppose, to this 27 odd participants, 26 odd, to each of you all, I give 100 coins. Why do you eat a chocolate? For my age, I prefer a dark chocolate because of sugar levels and other things there. But what is important to you? Or you use a toothpaste, or you look for a car, or you want to travel somewhere, you want to go somewhere. What is important in it and how many points do you give to it? So we would vary. But when you add them up, the total will be 100. So I'm calling it as constant sum, right? Now, the other thing is to do with the Q-sort. So these are 11 different chambers in which the opinions are placed, and we can figure out which side the opinion of the people in terms of feedback is tilting. So I go for what is called as continuous rating. I mean, it's like trying to go for little extra bit of variation that is there. I don't do 1-to-1 comparison, but non-comparative kind of scaling. Likert is a 5-point scale. Staple is a 10-point scale. Semantic is to do with language. So I take opposite or bipolar words. You would say the session is boring or interesting. Did it add value or did it waste your time? So I'm trying to put it that way to get a feedback. So that is what I do in a semantic differential. So I said, what is comparative? I've told you what is paired comparison, rank order, constant sum. And then there are these non-comparative in the form of Likert scale, semantic differential, and the staple scale. So the process of selecting a statistical tool, first you define what your research questions are. So you do a lot of literature review. You identify what is to be studied. If you do what is already done, you're duplicating. So whichever group that you come from, MCOM, MBA, hospital management, or CNGO, it's very pertinent that you do a literature review to identify the gaps. Those gaps, you put it into pertinent objectives. Now, these objectives, you want to check it empirically. You have to do hypothesis testing. All the theories mentioned in your QT and other research-related material, which is given by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University. So you will have to study that and work your project in tandem. And here what you notice is, the first thing is choosing the right kind of statistical tools. So you'll have to clearly define what your research question is, what problem you're trying to solve. So your objectives will guide your choice of statistical tools. Are you trying to compare groups? Are you trying to find relationship between variables? Let me make it very clear. Things which can be measured and expressed in terms of numbers are called variables. And things which can't be measured and expressed in terms of numbers are called attributes. Let us say the participants here, I talk about your height, weight, age. They can be measured in numbers. They are variables. And if I want to find relationship between your height and your parents' height, I would use a concept called correlation. Now, if I say you are punctual, you are sincere, you are honest, it is because you have imbibed your parents' qualities, because the fruit is known by the root there. So I would tell that if I want to find that angry fathers beget angry sons, or generous fathers give rise to generous children. So that way I use not what is correlation, but instead I use what is called as association. So that's where we use chi-square and other things. The second thing is you have to understand your data. So how many variables are there, right? Let us say y is equal to a plus bx. You're doing a simple regression where y you say is the dependent variable, x is the independent variable, a is the y's intercept, b is the slope. So how many variables you have? So what are you trying to measure? What is your distribution? I mean, you also studied in QT that if you get the data taking a shape of a bell-shaped curve, you say it's normal, or it is tilting to one side. We say it is a negatively skewed or positively skewed. So once you answer this, that will tell you. See, for using parametric test, there is another rule that I told you in terms of nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio, but it has to be normal and distributed. You should get a bell curve. And if the data is small, it's always advisable to use a non-parametric tools. So you have to identify what are the appropriate statistical tools based on your question. And you'll have to go about it exploring whether it is relationship, whether it's correlation, whether it's association. It will tell you what tools you're supposed to use. Now, the common statistical tools we use are descriptive statistics. We talk about measures of central tendency in terms of mean, median, mode. Mean is again in terms of arithmetic mean, geometric mean, harmonic mean. Median divides the entire set of data into two equal halves. Mode tells what is having more frequency, more repetitive kind of a thing. I mean, if you ask what is your foot size, what is your shoulder size, what is your body size for your dress, whether it is XL, double XL, triple XL, or your shoe footwear size is 7, 8, 9, or whatever, but that is where we use mode. So how the data is varying from the given mean, that is where we use what is called as the variance or standard deviation. Now, inferential statistics, it allows you to make inferences about the population. There are two branches of statistics that you go about saying. So maybe we use t-test. So there are different types. We'll get into detail. There is something called as analysis of variance, where you want to compare more than two means simultaneously. For comparing two means, you can use a t-test, you can use a z-test. But if you want to compare more than two means, you use what is called ANOVA. And if you have to find association between variables, or you want to find independence of attributes, you use this non-parametric tool, which is called as chi-square test. The symbol is a little different, but when you read it and write it, you write it as CHI, but when you read it, you call it KI, chi-square. And if you want to find a relationship, or you want to predict based on the past data, you want to tell about the future, you talk about what is called as correlation is for relationship, and for predicting, you use what is called as regression. So z-test, I said, it's again for comparing sample and population, or two populations, or two samples we go over to getting. It's only a precursor. I'll get into the details there. So I told you what is non-parametric. These tests are used when your data doesn't have or meet the assumptions required for parametric. I said you require normal distribution. So some examples are, it's mentioned in your syllabus. It's always advisable if you're using Excel or any of these statistical packages. I mean, you have tools like Mann-Whitney U-test, Kruskal-Wallis test, Kendall's test, and various other things there. So when you apply statistical tools to your project work, let's get to step-by-step kind of a thing to understanding it. First, you need to do data cleaning. This is what is called as the step of editing. So before even you get into analyzing, you have to find that the data is free of errors. Have people casually filled the questionnaire? You'll have to check for the reliability, validity of the instrument. You have to find some people have not answered some questions. So you'll have to keep those questionnaires aside, or the data aside. So you'll have to find out whether the data is skewed or normal and other things there. So you talk about a step of editing, coding, tabulation. Editing, you remove, there is this thing called GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. So unnecessary data, which is wrong factually, will not add value to the final outcome. So you remove that. And you start putting them with tally marks, then you prepare tables, and then you start analyzing them. So you perform the analysis, You may use software tools, very basic, or you can use a simple calculator and a paper and a pen to do it. But once you got a result, you got to interpret them. So if it is for inferential statistics, you get it in the form of p-value. If it is less than 0.05, you say you reject the null hypothesis. You get more than 0.05, you accept the null hypothesis. And those kind of things we do. And how do you present the findings? That is very crucial. So there are some common pitfalls that you go about coming across. One of them is selecting the wrong tool, or there is a mismatch between the type of data, the nature of the research questions that you have, and the tools. This can lead to wrong conclusions that are there. And you got to ensure that you satisfy the assumptions. That is what I would go about working. What assumptions? What are the utilities? When do you use which tool? So the best practice is always start with clear research question and ensure your data is well understood. First, you need to understand, and then you will approach your guide who would help you out to tell you what tools are there. So you have to validate your choice and check the assumptions of tests. And don't hesitate to consult a statistical expert. And in this case, it is your research guide who is allotted by the university. So there are a lot of ethical considerations that can come in when it comes to analysis. Some people may fake data, manipulate data, or show results that is what is pre-decided by them. This is something which you need to avoid. And you have to be careful in being more with a sense of honesty and integrity. So that would make your findings more ethical. And the other one is when you look at the tools, you talk about descriptive and you talk about inferential. Now, descriptive, if I study the entire phenomenon and if I'm trying to tell with a single value, I call it univariate. If I'm trying to go about with understanding it from two factors, I call it bivariate. And if I say a number is dependent on more than three factors or more than two factors, I call it multivariate. So in univariate, I'm usually talk about skewness, moments, kurtosis, trying to find the central value, the spread in terms of dispersion and other things there. So bivariate, we usually talk about correlation regression, and multivariate, multiple regression. Normally we say y is equal to a plus bx, but it can go into y is equal to a plus b1 x1, b2 x2, so on and so forth. And when it comes to inferential, we talk about the parametric and non-parametric. So it is applied to means and other things that are there. So the purpose of descriptive statistics is basically to summarize, describe, organize data into terms of sample and population. And they provide a way to present the data in a meaningful way. So it allows simpler interpretations, understanding of data distribution and central tendencies. So let's look into a little more of it. What does it mean? I said there are three types that are there. The sum of all the data points divided by the number of values or number of points. Now, when do you use it? If the data is continuous and normally distributed. Continuous and discrete. What do you mean by discrete is the values do not take decimal values. But when you say continuous, it comes in a decimal value. See, the thing is, I'm 50 years, some days, or my weight is 90 and some grams. My height is 5 feet, 7 inches and some centimeters. So I'm talking about decimal. So the thing is, there it is to do with continuous. But if I say I'm a person, I'm only one, then that is discrete. I mean, if my body is present, mind is absent in the session there. I mean, I wouldn't say that you are only 0.5 present. I wouldn't take that. So the thing is, I'm talking about things which come in continuous. So it's normally distributed. And assumptions are, it takes into ratio and interval data. And it should be normally distributed. By now, you are acquainted with what is interval and what is ratio. So you are comparing different data sets to identify commonness. How do they vary? Or which has got a better mean or less mean kind of a thing there. And median, I said it goes about with dividing the data into two equal halves. So it's best used for skewed distributions. And the data is ordinal, interval, or ratio. And utility is it goes about with giving a better central value of the data, which is skewed compared to mean there. And when you talk about mode, it uses nominal data. So it's only for classification's sake. The identifying is the most common category. I said about your roll number, hall ticket numbers, and other things there, or which is the most frequent digit which is appearing. So it is applicable to nominal, ordinal, interval, or ratio data. assumptions we take, and you are identifying the most frequent category or the value. So if out of the 30 people that were there, I mean, who has got a shoulder size of 44 for a shirt? Or who comes in double XL or a triple XL or a, you say large, medium, small kind of a thing. That's something what I do in mode. Now, when it comes to dispersion, how do the values vary from the measures of central tendency? So I'm trying to work out some assumptions. I'm looking into the utility and other things there. So you'll have to look at what is variance and what is standard deviation. So average of the squared differences from the mean is variance, and square root of the variance is to do with standard deviation. So this is something which will help you to express things in numbers. That is where we say quantify the amount of variation, and the data is normally distributed, measured on an interval or a ratio scale. And standard deviation is very important, particularly when it is the same unit of data or making some interpretations which are easier. It provides a lot of in-depth information, that is insight into how much individual data points differ or vary from the mean. So this is important there. So skewness tells you the shape of the curve there. And the kurtosis is the tailed part, where you talk about meso, lepto, and platykurtotic kind of a thing there. And you'll have to understand the conditions where you apply the descriptive statistics. Is applied when the goal is just to describe, just to summarize the data, study the entire phenomenon and present it with a few numbers. So it is best suited, the kind of research that you do is considered to be exploratory. You're trying to throw light on the problem, but you're not trying to find solution to the problem. So for that kind of studies, the descriptive statistics really works, and you're trying to understand the basic nature of the data so that it helps you for better in-depth statistical analysis. So when you look at the utility, it is the foundation of all quantitative analysis. Okay. And it helps you to summarize large data sets in understandable forms. It provides insights into trying to know the nature of the distribution, the central tendency, the variability of the data. Now it prepares you for taking this data for working out inferential, that is for parametric and non-parametric tests. Now the inferential statistics, if you look at it, it goes beyond describing the data. So till now we studied about descriptive. Let's focus on what is inferential. They are used to make inferences or generalizations. So I said about based on the sample, we say what holds good for the sample holds good for the entire population. So it helps you in testing hypotheses and making predictions. So, you know, hypothesis testing, we say set the hypothesis, we tell what is level of significance and critical value. Then we go about with using a statistical tool. We go about with finding out the calculated value. Then we draw a conclusion based on the critical and table value that we have. And the other thing you have to look at is what is type 1 error, type 2 error. So when we say the hypothesis is right and we reject it, we say it is type 1 error. When the hypothesis is wrong and we tend to accept it, we call it as a type 2 error. So these things you got to be mindful from the theory. So there is when you look at t-test, there are 3 types that are there. One is one sample t-test. So there is a single sample, you're trying to compare it with the population mean. Or there could be an independent t-test, 2 independent groups that are there. I'm comparing 2 sample means that are there. Or I want to know about before and after. Suppose I take a survey about the students attending this program before the initiatives that were done by Pawar sir or Kiranmai ma'am there, as to what is your understanding about project, how do you write and other things. And once the sessions are over tomorrow with case study and other things there, Naeem sir and others go about with presenting, you're trying to figure out as to was there an impact on you before and after by giving you this intervention or this training for 2 days. So there I can do before and after. That is where you call it as a paired t-test, right? It is on the same person, I do the test twice. So you're comparing means, and here you require normal distribution. The nature of data got to be interval or ratio. And utility is you deal with small sample sizes. So t-test is applied basically where the sample size ranges between 1 to 29. If it is more than 29, you have to test for normality. But normally we say we apply z-test when the sample size is more than 30. So Z-test, we use it when the sample size is greater than 30. So when the sample size is between 1 to 29, we call it as a small sample. And when it is greater than 30, we call it as large sample. So we are comparing sample mean. There are 5 types of Z-test. Comparing a sample mean with the population mean, comparing 2 sample means, comparing sample proportion with population proportion, comparing 2 sample proportions, comparing 2 standard errors. Get the word right? For sample, we don't use the word standard deviation. Instead, we use the word standard error. So it is suitable for large samples where the sample size is greater than 30. Now, this is where I am trying to compare more than 3 groups. Z-test, T-test have a limitation where you can't compare 2 of them. And the assumptions are there as to what should be normal. I mean, the data got to be normal, and the way you draw the samples out of the population got to be independent. So this determines the statistical significance, whether you got to accept, reject the null and other things there. Now, chi-square test, this is a non-parametric test, which is used for categorical data. Remember, some of the initial slides I said, nominal, ordinal are called categorical data. Now, this is to assess how the distribution is due. You're trying to talk about independence of attributes or association of attributes. So I said things which can be measured and expressed in numbers, you use correlation if you want to find relationship. And things which can't be expressed in numbers, you use the word association, and chi-square is one good test. There are a lot of variations like McNemar and other tests which are available. And correlation and regression, I said. Now here, when it comes to finding relationship between 2 numbers, when you look at Pearson correlation, here it assumes linear relationship and data got to be normal. Now there is another tool to go about checking correlation, relationship between numbers, but it doesn't satisfy the conditions of that bell curve or normal distribution. We call it a non-parametric measure used for ordinal data, and this is a non-linear relationship. Regression, yes, it helps you to predict the futuristic things. Now, in y is equal to a plus bx, if I say y is sale and x is the amount you spend on advertisement, so if I keep changing the amount of money in expenditure, it would tell you how much sales do I make. So it's a very good tool for forecasting and making informed, especially when it comes to multiple regression. What I said, y is equal to a plus bx is a simple regression formula, but multiple regression is much more useful because not every time you have only one factor influencing the outcome there. There are more than one factor. So that is where you use multiple regression. Now, these are some of the non-parametric tests I told you, where we don't have a clue about the parent population, and we have to go about with trying to make some conclusions without knowing the parent population characteristic on the sample. We apply statistical tools. We call it the non-parametric test. And under them, we have the Mann-Whitney test, which compares differences. You know, you have 2 sets of data. Let us say I compare the Open University students of IGNOU to that of B.R. Ambedkar Open University. Now, I want to figure out whether these 2 belong to Open University or the regular stream. So I can do a U-test. Or do I say that all the students that are there have similar kind of a thing? There's difference between the approach of students of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and IGNOU. So there I can go about using that. Now there is this Wilcoxon signed rank test. It compares differences between 2 related samples, differences. Just like how you do a t-test, here you could do it for a non-parameter. Now I said when you do compare more than 2 samples, then you have to go about with applying ANOVA when it is parametric. But a non-parametric equivalent of ANOVA is what we call it as the Kruskal-Wallis test. Now these tests are not very stringent, and I would advise you, not many do it. But if you don't know about the parent population, the best thing is to apply the non-parametric test. They're more flexible and more better off in trying to draw interpretations and other things. Nothing wrong if you say that if you can assume, like, you can write the assumption. Let's say the sample size that you have taken is 1 to 29. We believe it is normally distributed, and you apply the t-test. Or we say I collected data from 50 samples. When you say it's more than 30, I assume that to be normally distributed. You can use the Z-test. You can use the ANOVA. You can use the t-test. So that assumption part is very important to justify why you have selected a particular tool. So there are some conditions that are there when you have to apply. So many inferential tests that are there, they assume that the data follows normal distribution. I mean, the way you draw the samples out of the population is independent. And within the group, there should not be much of variance. I mean, square of the standard deviation. And the level of measurement, you got to be very clear that they got to be of interval and ratio and not of nominal and ordinal. Some tests allow ordinal test too. Now, these are conditions that apply for the parametric tests that are there. Now, utility, when you look at inferential statistics, the test hypothesis, we draw conclusions about a population. We make predictions based on sample data. We try to determine the relationship between a variable and understand the impact of one variable on the other. What is the cause? What is the effect? What are intervening variables? Sometimes it helps us to generalize the findings. So the thing is, what holds good for the sample holds good for the entire population. You got to understand a sampling. What is random, probabilistic, non-random, non-probabilistic, as to what is deliberate sampling, snowball, quota, multi-stage. Then when you talk about systemic and simple random and all those things, you'll have to know, and what should be the ideal sample size and all that stuff. Unless and until you do that, you can't approach. So I said the prerequisites is knowing about sampling. I didn't tell it earlier. The prerequisite is knowing about the primary scales, nominal, ordinal, interval ratio. And the other thing is knowing scaling techniques in terms of what is comparative and what is comparative. So ultimately, when you look at the tools that you have for analysis there, you have the descriptive tools, that is for understanding or summarizing data, providing a clear picture of the data set. And inferential statistics are for critical decisions like prediction, generalizations, and allowing the researcher to apply findings beyond the sample size. So when you have to work generalizations, inferential statistics hold, but summarizing and trying to orally trying to tell, like, this is what it is without the cause and effect, then that is to do with descriptive. So I've gone in depth telling you the tools which normally you use. I've shared the PPT. All it requires is spend some quality time. Every resource person will go about with sharing. Maybe the faculty here will share it with you in the groups. It's not collecting the PowerPoints. What you have heard, I mean, if you can go through with the PowerPoint again and again, probably it will help you out. It will guide you and facilitate you to do a better job, and you don't have to bother the guide as to what should be the choice and how do you do. So the later session, you talk about report writing. Tomorrow you study about how to do case studies, be it marketing, finance, HR, and other things there. So these are things which are learning that has been working on. So there are some more tools, I would say. If the nature of data, it is nominal, then I go for chi-square. If it is ordinal, then I would go for non-parametric. If the nature of data is interval, I have to ask a question whether it is parametric or non-parametric. If it is parametric, fine, I'll go for t-test, f-test, z-test, Pearson R. Okay, not Spearman, but Pearson. If the answer is no, that it is not parametric, the answer is when I say that distribution is not normal, then I apply the non-parametric tools like Mann-Whitney test, Kruskal-Wallis test, then Spearman's test. Pearson, Spearman. Look carefully. And then there is these things, one sample t-test. You're looking at the comparison. So if it is to do with non-parametric, you call it the sign test or the Wilcoxon test. If there are two samples, there is a paired t-test or you have a sign test. You have an unpaired t-test, you call it Wilcoxon, Mann-Whitney, Kolmogorov, Smirnov. There's a K-sample or ANOVA. Here you call it as the Kruskal-Wallis test or Jock-Harry test. There's a two-way kind of a test that you have, and you have correlation, you use Pearson, but here when it comes, you're calling it as the Spearman test. This is important if you're using Excel or you're using SPSS or SAS to draw. Excel, that's something which is there with your suite of Microsoft. So if you get an answer which is less than 0.01 for p-value, the result is highly significant and you say reject the null hypothesis, which talks about status quo. If you get an answer between 0.01 but less than 0.05, the result is significant, still you reject the null hypothesis. But if the value is greater than 0.05, the result is not significant and you do not reject the null hypothesis. You accept the null hypothesis. So this slide, I want you to watch good number of times after the session 2, which will help you out when you do the actual analysis. Further, we talk about descriptive and graphical. What kind of graphs will you use? If it is categorical data, because a picture speaks 1,000 words, you got to know where you use which kind of data or which kind of graphs that are there to give a pictorial representation of whatever you found. So there are frequency tables, percentages. You do what is called as continuous data if it is categorical, continuous, mean, median. If it is measures of variation, what do you use for categorical? Use a bar chart or clustered bar chart. If it is continuous data, a histogram or a box and whisker plot. You call it box plot, simple as that. Try checking in ChatGPT or Google later on. What is a box plot? Can I apply it in my project work? Try doing it, right? 5 measures that come in, very simple, descriptive tools. So dot plot kind of a thing there. So this is another thing that is there. If the nature of the data is continuous, categorical, which tools will be applied when? I mean, I can't get into the detail, but I wish that you would go through all the stuff there. So Excel is being applied. So nature of the data, if it's nominal, if it is ordinal, what tools will you use and how do you make generalizations? You're talking about the nature of data to be nominal, ordinal, we say categorical. When we say it is ratio interval, we call it quantitative. So the tools that we use, it's very important. So there are some illustrations that I've gone about with the working out. Sometimes it is the nature of the objective also goes about with influencing. It is descriptive. Then what kind of tools do I use? If it is correlational, I told you, like, Spearman, Pearson. If it is explanatory, like regression tools, y is equal to a plus bx and other thing. If you're trying to throw light on the problem, probably it is exploratory, where you use descriptive and other tools that are there, right? And I have one thing to draw your attention through this. Everybody will share with you what are the steps that are available in research. But to tell you that when you're preparing a research design itself, you have to decide what tools of analysis you'll have to use, and not after collecting the data, you go to your guide and say, can you tell me which tools are to be applied? So this is the reason why I put that step number 4 and 6 in bold. So first is knowing the problem. A problem is known, half the problem is solved. You have to do extensive literature review to identify what are the gaps, irrespective of at what level you're doing a project, whether it's an MCOM, MBA, hospital management, PG diploma, or CNGO. So the thing is, you have to do literature review. All right. Go to ChatGPT, put the word literature review. How do I do it? How do I get literature? I mean, don't commit yourself more to the generative apps that are there. But what is literature review is, I go about with studying on this topic that I'm selecting to go about doing an in-depth study. What is already done? What is to be done? So when you read any one article, in the end, they tell limitation, scope for further research. So when you figure out what is to be done, and that becomes your gaps. Those gaps you convert into objectives. Those objectives, you want to test it numerically, you create hypothesis. Null, alternate, no change, no effect, no impact. That is what is null. There is change, there is effect, there is impact. That is what is alternate. So then you prepare research design, wherein you decide your sources of data, whether it's primary, secondary. You will tell about your sample size. You will tell about your tools of analysis, univariate, bivariate, multivariate, whether it's parametric, non-parametric. Then you would tell about the scope in terms of geography, time, and what is covered there, what are the limitations. All those things will come in the research design. It will act as a rudder or a compass for your journey of research. You collect the data and you have to do editing, coding, tabulation, analyze. So generalization, what holds good for the sample, holds good for the population. So that is based on your interpretation. Once you do this, you would get into the report writing and presentation style. So there are a lot of other slides that are there. I don't want to go, but in detail, I think all these things. Morning, I remember the slide was used by even Lokanathan sir there, where he spoke about deductive approach and inductive approach. I attended the session for some time there. He spoke about how to choose a topic and all that. So heed to it and go ahead. So I think my time is almost done. So if I can take some questions, I'll be more than happy to do the part of getting into the Zoom meeting now. I've stopped my presentation. Kiranbhai ma'am is back again. Thank you so much, ma'am, for the opportunity that was given to me to be a part of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University. Pawar sir is there. Good afternoon, Professor. Thank you so much.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Patrick,
Sir.
for a wonderful session. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Because there is so many members are retiring today, there is some lunch, some event.
Yeah, even I have to go for comparing a program at the university, ma'am.
Some 7 members, 7 of our colleagues are retiring today.
That's a big number.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'll take leave from you. Thanks to all the participants that are there, and best wishes. Happy learning tomorrow, and how do you convert what you learn into practice is very important. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Radha Krishna, I'm stuck.
Okay. Okay. So once again, thank you for all the previous resource persons, Professor Lokananda Reddy, and of course myself, and also Professor Patrick. Now, the next session is by Professor Anand Pawar, Dean Faculty of Commerce and Business Management. Pawar actually, he put up almost 20 plus years of service in the university, and he is going to serve for almost more than 10 years in the university. Very young, dynamic, and energetic faculty member. Now I request Pawar to take the session on how to write a project report.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Radha. Thank you.
Pawar, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Friends, again, welcome you all. So without any break, we'll continue another 1 hour. And then there will be an interaction session among the faculty as well as the students after my session is over. Since morning, we have been taught several things by my colleagues, Professor Kiranbhai, Professor Lokananda Reddy, and Professor Patrick from Osmania University, Hyderabad. Yeah, now the time has come. After knowing what is the importance of project report and what are the guidelines to be followed while preparation of project synopsis and project report as well. And then after collection of data, approval from the dean concerned, you have to prepare a project report. How to prepare project report? We have been experiencing with the project reports for the last 25 years. And we have guided several students. We have given a lot of information regarding guidelines, but still we get a lot of reports which are not in proper order. So it is in this context, we thought of organizing these kind of programs to make the students aware and take little care about writing project report, which is like our own baby. How you take care of your baby, you have to take care of your project report, because your project report is the what you call front gate for your career planning while going for employment opportunities. So generally, when you attend the interview for any employment with the post-graduation or with the degree called MBA or similar, companies generally ask for what is your project report and what you have done with. So then if you are able to show your project report, and most of the students do not carry project report while going for interview without knowing, but you have to carry your project report because which carries 200 marks, and it is a practical component from where you have learned some practical aspect of the business and organizations. So you need to present your work there, then only they will be able to understand that you have some practical knowledge or practical information. That helps you in understanding your candidature, and there is a chances of selecting you. And therefore, I suggest the students to focus on your project report very meticulously, and it should be like your own baby, how you take care of it. Similar way, if you take care of all these precautions while preparing a project report, it is going to be a very wonderful product that you have with you, and you can present the way you interact with the business and industry. So it is in this context, since morning we have been teaching several things, and now the time has come to discuss a little more about how to write a project report. So friends, I before going into the project report, I want to tell you very briefly in about 1 minute, how to write your synopsis also very important, because writing project synopsis is an indication of project report. If project synopsis is good, then your project report will be good. That is why you need to take approval from the university before you proceed for actual work of project report writing. So while looking at project synopsis, I might have corrected and approved more than 2,000 to 3,000 project reports as of now, not less than this. So by doing so, what I experienced, what I learned out of all these years of experience, more than 30-40% synopsis get rejected. Yeah, the same thing was mentioning about this thing by Professor Y.S. Kiranmai in her talk. It is not a simple task, because most of the students do not know how to write a synopsis of 4 to 6 pages. It is the gateway to project report. Until and unless you write a good project synopsis, you cannot prepare a project report. And it is also the responsibility of the students, not only writing synopsis on their own, but also we are facilitating with the help of project guides, and also helping them to identify the list of project guides to whom they have to approach and select their project report in project guide in preparing the final project report. And unfortunately, many of the supervisors, that is guides of the MBA project, they are not also giving any adequate attention whether the student have written in a systematic manner or not. So my humble submission to my colleagues, I can understand that they are very busy in their work, and mostly they are busy with their institutions and their work, and most of them, they are not our own employees. So we cannot pressurize them to give more attention, but at least adequate attention is required, because we have recognized you on your request to recognize you as a project guide at B.R. Ambedkar Open University. So it is our bounding responsibility to take care and guide the student in which way the project synopsis should be written. Then only we can, they can proceed without any hurdle. Otherwise, what happens, if the project synopsis is getting rejected, it is the implication not only on the student but also on the supervisor, because the supervisors are by and large 99% they are doctorates, and they are already done with a lot of research and all that, and guiding a project report is not a big task for them, but still they are not showing that much interest, and therefore I request them to give little attention and guide the students, because the students, they have come with some proposal, knowingly or unknowingly, we must be in a position to guide them. Otherwise, where they should go. So and mostly our students are employees, and they are not regular students to approach or visit the project guide or college where they are pursuing. So it is one of the limitations wherein the process of getting the project report done. So now the time has come how to write. See, after successful completion of your project synopsis approved, and definitely you might have conducted research, collected data, and after collection of the data, you might have applied some statistics as proposed and highlighted by Professor Patrick, and then final report should be prepared in a very systematic manner, and then only it carries, it brings some credit to you, the form of marks or grade, whatever it is designated to it. So friends, now let us talk about what is project report, how to write a project report. We all of us know what is project report. It's a small practical work where the academia and industry can be integrated and learn something out of it. That is integrating theory to practice or practice to theory. So somewhere you have to get some linkage. Then you can learn something out of it. That is what we popularly called as experiential learning. So friends, now the time has come, what is project report and how to write a project report. So university has given, in the guidelines, we have given at least 30, 40 tentative titles for your project report, from where you have to select based on your specialization and proceed. Now, if you talk about project report, everything is matter right from the title of your project report. So if your project synopsis is right, your project report will be right. If anything goes wrong with your project report, and sometimes, the guide and the approving authorities may be somehow liberal, it does not mean that, it is wrong. Mistake is also lies with the authorities concerned. So sometimes, for a small correction, we don't want to reject, but you have to take care of it. So how to select a topic? For example, as a marketing teacher, I want to tell you, some sample case, how to write your project title and then project report. So we'll start with, project title, how it should be, and what are the annexes, appendix should be enclosed at the end of the project report. So this is the outline of my talk. So if you examine the one case called, as a marketing teacher, I must tell you, customer relationship management practices, CRM practices at State Bank of India, a study. If this is the example. And in other words, we can also write like this: customer relationship management practices, a case study of SBI. Either both are correct. Which is right and which is wrong? Everything, both are right, but the only article writing slightly different. So most of the students, what they write, we have given CRM practices in an organization, because we give in an organization because we do not know from where you are going to conduct your study. Therefore, we give in general, but people like you, students, give title as it is given in the synopsis guidelines. No, it should be specific with reference to your organization that you are going to select for your study. Therefore, now I am making very clear CRM practices, and most of the students, they write CRM in banking or in State Bank of India like that. No, CRM practices, how customer relationship management practices are being implemented at SBI as a study. This is the theme of this title. So this is how you have to select the title, and it should be very brief, and what exactly you want to convey, you have to convey. And in your title, there must be 3 minimum variables. So I'm repeating, in the title, there must be 3 minimum variables. One is CRM. CRM is one variable. Practices is one variable. Practice means whatever CRM principles they are implementing is known as practice. Number 2 is State Bank of India. Study is reference to State Bank of India. There are 3 aspects in it. CRM is noun, and practices means how they are implementing. Implementation, practices means verb. Customer relationship is noun, and practices is verb, what they are doing there. And with reference to what organization or which organization that you are going to take up. This is the 3 variable. There must be there in every title of your project report or any research article or any research for that matter. So next, after when you talk about CRM practices at the same, there must be, this is the way that we have to write your project report. We also mentioned earlier that how should be a project synopsis should be. So when you identify the title, this is known as identification of the problem already Professor Patrick was talking about, identify the research problem. Means, what is the problem that you have identified? Means, how CRM practices are being implemented at SBI. You want to study. That is the problem of the study. So, whether practicing management practices or not, if they are practicing, how they are practicing is the problem. We want to know how it is taking place at SBI. So you have to write introduction. People talk about, we give in guidelines, a sample case, introduction to the subject. They write like that only. No, introduction to the subject means the title of your project report. You should not write introduction to the introduction to the study. No, introduction only you have to write. Introduction means you have to describe the present title. If you take the example, CRM practices. What is CRM? Meaning, definition, and concept you have to write in one page. I'm talking first synopsis and then I'll go to the project report. Because without knowing the synopsis, you cannot understand the project report because this is interrelated. So your introduction chapter in your introduction part in your synopsis would be about one page, wherein you have to talk about what is CRM, meaning, definition, and the importance of the CRM in an organization or in SBI or at SBI. That should be the title. First one is what is CRM? Under the introduction, you have to write meaning of CRM, definition. These two are called concept of CRM. So under the head of introduction, when you introduce about the CRM, then you have to write what is the concept of CRM. Concept talks about meaning plus definitions. Meaning plus definition is equal to concept. Meaning is some general, definition is specific given by some competent authority, and concept is what you understood from these two. Meaning as well as the definitions given by some competent experts. Thereby, what you could understand from these two is known as concept. And then you have to write why CRM is important. And concept, introduction, meaning, definition, that is concept is about one page, and importance of CRM is also about one page. So 2 pages over. And next, third page would be about synopsis, should be brief profile of State Bank of India or any other organization that you are going to include in your study. It should be about 1 page. So where, when you are writing your project synopsis, when you are presenting your profile, you have to take care certain points under which the profile of the organization should be presented. These are the sub points under which you have to mention as brief profile. First, name of the organization and year of establishment. Some people give just State Bank of India is that, this no. First, what is the organization name, year of establishment? B, vision and mission statement of the organization. Then objectives of the organization, in this case bank, name of the bank, year of establishment of the bank, vision and mission statement of SBI, then objectives of the bank, what they want to achieve. Then products and services offered by the bank, that is SBI. Then number of branches in the study area. If it is Telangana, Telangana. If it is Hyderabad, Hyderabad. If it is Guntur, Guntur. If it is Nizamabad, Nizamabad. Wherever it is, your study area. Then number of customers are there with this bank or any organizations. Number of bank employees, all cadre. You should be mentioned in 1 page under the brief profile of, profile of the bank or organization profile. So 3 pages over. Now you have to, talk about next page. That is 4th page. First page is introduction, meaning, concept. Second page is importance of the CRM. Third page is brief profile of the bank or organization that you are taking up. And 4th page should be written, what is the need for the study? Why you are studying? For example, if you take the same example, CRM. See, customer relationship management is a strategic tool which helps the customers and the bank to repeat the customers and sales. whether this bank is maintaining customer relationship or not to study is the need for the study or need for the significance of the study. So we have to write in one paragraph or 10 to 15 lines, not more than that. Then statement of the problem. What is the statement of the problem? Most of the customers are not happy with the CRM practices being followed by XYZ company or SBI in this case. That is our point. See, in spite of CRM practices are being implemented at SBI, still customers are not getting proper information. Our customers are not getting updates on the new products and services and so on. Therefore, you have to write this point as a statement of the problem. Because after identifying the need for this study, we have to critically evaluate what is the statement of the problem in it. Then once the statement of the problem is rightly identified, then you have to focus on objectives of the study. And you know, many students write objectives of the study in a whole page. No, it is very simple, you know, and you know, all these things should be written in one page. All whatever content that I have given now on this slide, you know, it should be in one page or maximum 2 pages, not more than that. So need for this study, 1 paragraph, statement of the problem is 1 paragraph. Then coming to objectives, objectives is also very small, you know, it is in the 1/5 or 1/6 of the page, means 15 to 20% of the page, means just 3 points. So how objective should be written, I will tell you in the next slide. After the objectives are written, then you have to write null hypothesis. Hypothesis is a statement of, you know, hypothesis is nothing but a statement which is that you are going to prove or disprove. It is a hypothetical condition. Let us say CRM practices followed by or implemented by SBI is not up to the mark, is the statement. This is nothing but hypothesis. Or there is no relationship between the CRM practices and the customer satisfaction. It is a hypothesis. And then you have to write scope and period of the study. Scope means what are the contents that you are going to incorporate. And period of the study, during which period of study you are conducting the study. For example, for secondary data, whether you are taking 2 years data or 5 years data or 10 years data, you have to make a mention in case of secondary data. In case of collecting primary data, during which months or which particular month that you are going to collect the data, you have to mention. See, period of the study is not particular 1 month. It is for, in every project report, you have to give both primary and secondary data. So secondary data should be pertaining to not less than 2 years and not more than 10 years. So minimum 2 and maximum 10 years data you must give as a secondary data in your project synopsis and project report also. So, and for carrying primary data, in what particular period, for example, August and September, it is studies all about 6 to 8 months. So which month, during which 2 months that you are conducting, you have to make a mention. Then next point would be research methodology. Research methodology is nothing but how you conduct your research. Approach or methodology means approach, systematic approach. See, sources of data under which sources of data, A, primary as well as secondary data. Then sample size and population. What is sample size? The number of respondents that you are going to include in your study out of the total customers or employees working for the particular organization. For example, sample study or primary data and secondary data, if you talk about, in case of CRM in SBI, so secondary data should be collected, as I told you earlier, when it was started, what is the employee data bank, how many customers are there with that bank. So for last 10 years, you can give the data. And in case of primary data, so for example, CRM is from customer's point of view, or if it is from banker's point of view, or both, also you can take it. But in case of project report, you can take either from customer point of view or banker point of view, but not both, because if it is both, it can be a MPhil degree or PhD degree. So your study is not that big. Therefore, you can take either customers or bankers. So let us take the example of bankers. So when this study CRM practices, whether they are following or not, it can be assessed from the banker's point of view. Bankers means employees. So when you are talking about sample size should not be less than 100 for your any kind of study. For project report, you must take minimum 100 sample size. If the employees of that bank is less than 100, you cannot conduct the study. You can shift to the customers, because customers will be hundreds and thousands. Therefore, when you are taking your sample size, there must be some sample population. Population means whole employees, means total employees working with that organization, or total customers that are operating their operations with that particular bank, that is SBI. So either you take employees or the customers, you have to make a mention that what is the total employees or students associating with this bank. That is your sample population, out of which you have to take either 10% or 20% depending on the population. If number is big, you can take 5%. If number is less, then you can take it 20%. And sometimes, there are only 200 employees, then you can take it 25%, because 100 population, when you take the population is 200, then 50% it would become, your sample size will become 50% of the population. Because anyway, you have to take, 100 as your sample respondents. So beyond the point, you cannot go ahead, because population should be certain. And then when you talk about, tools of data collection, how do you collect the data? If it is secondary data, you can collect annual reports, or you can get some newspaper items, you can get magazine from the company or organization, and SBI in case of this example case. And in case of, primary data, you have to design a questionnaire. So these are the tools for data collection. Either secondary data or primary data you can work. In case of CRM practices, you cannot work or prepare your report based on secondary data. Secondary data is mostly applicable for finance area, because financial performance, working capital management, capital budgeting, all that are based on what? Secondary data. That is annual reports. Therefore, we call it secondary data. And for which data collection is their annual reports and all that. But in case of primary data, you have to write or prepare a questionnaire of 20-25 questions, from which you have to collect the information. And the preparation of questionnaire should be in align with your objectives. So that is called tools of data collection. After data is collected, then you have to use some tools, data analysis tools. As I mentioned earlier, data analysis tools are what Professor Patrick was already mentioned. What are the statistical tools to be used for analyzing the collected data? That can be t-test, Z-test, or a chi-square test, or case test, or man-Whitney test, and so on. Anything depending on your suitability of the data. And then study plan or chapterization. So your study, how many chapters that you are going to present in your project report tomorrow, you have to make a mention. So if you go to the details, like research methodology and then study plan, we will go one by one. Then let us talk about objectives. Many students and research guides are not clear about how to write project objectives or study objectives. I would like to suggest all the students and the guides that for a project report, not more than 3 objectives. There should not be more than 3 objectives. If you want to add one more, you can add, that is what to suggest remedial measures or suitable measures or best practices, but not beyond, because we all of us know as research guides, because we have done with our project report, we do so many research paper presentations and so on. We are all aware for a PhD work, we write not more than 4 to 5 objectives. If you write same way, then it would become a PhD thesis. No, and it is not that much required. Therefore, for MPhil, we need not to write more than 3 or 4. For PhD, we cannot write more than 5 or 6. Then you think, what number should be given to your project report? I suggest and practice, only 3 objectives are enough, and these objectives must be very specific and very crisp, means very short. Let us go through how to write. To examine the role of CRM in banking sector with a specific focus on its application at the SBI. This is the first objective. Simply write the role of CRM in SBI. One objective. Number 2, to provide an overview of SBI, means profile of the SBI, and highlighting its customer-centric strategies and overall approach to CRM. Because our title is Customer Relationship Management. So, this objective speaks about chapter 2, that is profile of the organization. And first objective is talk about introduction chapter, where we write what is CRM, why CRM, how CRM, and all that. And when it comes to third objective is third chapter. What is that? To assess or analyze or study or measure anything. It is work. To assess the customer perceptions and opinions regarding CRM practices implemented by SBI. This objective is will be reflecting in your chapter 3, that is data analysis and interpretation. So first objective is related to theory, that is first chapter, where you talk about title of the project, its role, importance, objectives, methodology, and chapterization. Second objective is talking about representing chapter 2, that is overview of SBI, means profile of the SBI or profile of the company, any organization, whatever organization that you are taking, and highlight its functioning or whatever it is with related to your topic that you are taking for your project to study. And next is, this is precisely 3 objectives. Don't write more than this, because you are landing in a trouble tomorrow. Because every objective should be there in your project report in the form of chapter. If you write 4 or 5 objectives again, there must be 4 or 5 chapters. And in case of project report, these many objectives, and these many chapters are not required, because it is project report is a report where 60 to 80 pages. So it is a small study, micro study. So don't land in trouble by identifying and writing so many objectives. And ultimately what happens, you will lose the relevance, and you cannot link where you are going to land. So this is how we have to understand. Then when we talk about, scope and period of the study, the scope of the project involves examining 15 identified customer relationship management practices. You have to make a mention those 15 practices. What 15 practices? For example, this bank SBI is following 15 CRM practices. What are they you identifying? And these CRM practices ultimately focus on effectiveness of enhancing customer satisfaction, ultimately. And then second point is, secondary data will be collected and analyzed from 5 or 10 years period to understand the long-term trends and impacts. Whereas in the case of primary data, it will be gathered over 2 months period, as I mentioned earlier. Specifically, for example, right now, I'm trying to give you an example. You can write like this: August, September 2024, or July and August 2024. So here you can write 2 aspects in your period of the study. One is how many years data, secondary data, that you are going to use in your project report. Number 2, during which period that you are going to collect the data. These 2 aspects should be there in your period of the study. Then research methodology. As I told you, there must be sources of data with both primary and secondary data, sample size and population, tools of data collection, tools of data analysis. Then coming to study plan. Yeah, study plan. What is study plan? Most of the students miss this page in your synopsis. All these should be given in 4 to 6 pages, not more than that. Then I'll come to the project report. A simple way. So your study should be like this. Study plan should be there. Chapter 1, introduction. Chapter 2, profile of the SBI. Chapter 3, data analysis and interpretation. Chapter 4, findings and suggestions. That's enough. You need not to describe what you are writing about introduction, under the introduction, under profile, under data analysis interpretation. Don't write at the level of synopsis. So up to synopsis, you just write study plan, 4 chapters. Chapter 1, introduction. Chapter 2, profile of XYZ company in case of this SBI. The chapter 3 is data analysis and interpretation. Chapter 4 is findings and suggestions. Yeah. Now, major and second part, because this synopsis writing, it is brief in writing 4 to maximum 6 pages. If you done with 4 to 6 pages well, definitely your project report will be a wonderful tomorrow. No doubt about it. I'll tell you again now. Yeah. So this slides again continues, you know. Now you have to convert your project synopsis, you know, into project report. So project report consists of, 4 chapters as I mentioned just now, and you can see the same on your slide. Introduction. See, in case of synopsis, you will be writing about introduction 2 pages, profile 1 page, methodology and chapterization 1 page, enough, 4 pages minimum. And now when you want to convert after data collection by designing questionnaire and all that, data analysis, then your project report preparation should start. Now, chapter 1 would be synopsis, your synopsis. But in your synopsis introduction was only 1-2 pages about the CRM and about the importance of the CRM. But now you have to expand into 15 pages. So 2 pages of introduction in your synopsis should be developed to 15 pages. So already you have developed 5 to 6 pages, no, synopsis. It is easy to convert or expand and convert into chapter 1. And in your synopsis, you will write like this, in future tense, right? Data will be collected. Data will be analyzed. Like that. But in introduction of this chapter, because after everything is done, you have to convert into past tense. Data has been collected. Data has been analyzed. This many data sample size was collected. So 100 sample study, 100 sample respondents will be included. We have written, right? Now 100 sample respondent has been included. So convert the synopsis into past tense, because now you are done with your project report, and expand into 15 pages. This is all about 1 chapter. So synopsis 2 pages will become 15 pages now. So you have to write what are the principles of CRM, and what are the approaches of CRM, who will do CRM, why do CRM, all these things, all the theory overview about the CRM should be written in 15 pages. I'm talking about average. 2 pages plus or minus is okay. So average pages should be, first chapter should be what? 15 pages, average, plus or minus. So your 5 to 6 pages of synopsis will become 15 pages of chapter 1. Yeah. So when you have written profile in a 1 page in your synopsis, now you have to convert, expand and convert into 10 pages. So now you have to write your profile, that is company profile, in 10 pages. You have to write everything. What are the services? See, in profile, you may write very gist, means very brief. But here you have to expand. What are the products and services they are offering? You might have given some list there in synopsis. Now you have to expand it. Okay. So it should go and run into not less than 10 pages. That is about profile of SBI or profile of any company that you take for your project study. Yeah. So now you have to talk about, chapter 3, which is data analysis and interpretation. This chapter depends on your questionnaire, or in case of finance or secondary data, it is based on annual reports that you collect from that particular company or organization or bank or anything for that matter. So with the help of questionnaire in case of primary data, with the help of annual reports in case of secondary data, you analyze the data analysis and give interpretation how it is. That is called data analysis and interpretation chapter 3, which should be not less than 20 pages. Because for one question, one table will come, one figure will come, and then 1 or 2 paragraph analysis will come. So for one question or one table, 1 page means you take 20 table questions in your questionnaire from your questionnaire and convert them into table format and give the pictures appropriately and write interpretation for that. That would be 20 questions or 25 questions will run into 20 or 25 pages. This is your crux of the study. See, first chapter 1 and 2 would be you already gathered from different sources, from internet, from textbooks, introduction and all that. Profile may be collected from the organization concerned through net and all that. But the third chapter is your efforts. That is where you learn how to analyze the data collected from the company or organization from which you have collected the data. And then from the data analysis and interpretation, you have to give findings and suggestions. This is about chapter 4. And it should be an average, I'm talking 5 pages, because for example, if you take 20 questions, you have analyzed in the form of 20 tables in your analysis chapter. So you have to give 20 findings and 20 suggestions, or at least important findings and important suggestions, not less than 10 findings and 10 suggestions. It should be around 5 pages. This is all about your project report. So while preparing your project report, what you will do, some format will be there, right? You might have taken some approval from the dean, from the department, all that you should include in a project report under the head called preliminary pages. Your title report, the annexer that you have taken approval, and your declaration annexer, your guide certificate, company certificate, authentic certificate, that approval certificate, and table content, figures and all that you mention as a preliminary pages. Your guide certificate and all that. That all comes under preliminary pages. That is around 10 pages. So first is title page, which includes title, your name, your number, your guide address, department address, logo, university where you are submitting, and so forth. After that, you have to give your, all the annexers, that is approval of the dean, and then guide certificate, your declaration, that is student declaration, that this work is done by me, and it is original, that you are giving a declaration for that, and content page, because content page, which includes chapter 1, chapter 2, what you are going to present, that is about preliminary pages, about 10 pages. And your project report may be running about 50 to 60 pages. Yeah, at the end, after the findings and suggestion, you must give some annexer. Annexer or appendix. You name it as annexer 1 and annexer 2. And in case of if you collected data from company website and all that, in case of secondary data, you might have used annual reports and all that. You can also mention under annexer 3 as annual reports of the company or bank or whatever organization that you have taken for your study. So annexer 1 is approved synopsis, that is already that is there with you. You keep it as it is because you have approved your particular project proposal was approved based on your project synopsis. Therefore, we call it approved synopsis. So you mentioned under annexer 1 your approved synopsis. Otherwise, again, a problem for you because you might have not taken any approval. There is a chances of rejection. There is a chances of there is no valuation of your project report, and you may not be allowed for project viva. So you have to include your approved project synopsis at the end of the project report. That is after your chapter 4. And annexer 2 is questionnaire. That is how you have collected the data from the RAM sample respondents. And it is maybe around 2 to 3 pages and all that. These are the annexer 2. And keep on, you can extend annexer 3 in case of annual reports of the company organization if you have collected any secondary data. So put together all these running how much? So preliminary pages 10 pages, report is all about 50-60 pages, and annexures is all about 10 pages. So altogether 60 to 80 pages. This is all about your project report. So now I think you might have got some picture that how your project report is going to be. So if you are perfect, if you are able to, if you are understood with your project synopsis, that clearly gives an idea how to expand and prepare your project report. That is why I have been talking much on project synopsis, because synopsis is the indication of impression that you are creating with the authorities concerned, that how you are going to do your work or present your report. So if project synopsis is approved once, that is clearance from the university, now then you can start your original work or main work of the project report. So what I mean to say, project report, if you expand into pages, it will become report except chapter 3 and 4. Your project synopsis would be expanded into chapter 1 and 2. Because introduction aspects are there in your synopsis, profile aspects are there in your profile synopsis. Therefore, if you expand into 2 pages into 15 pages, it will become chapter 1. Profile would be around 10 pages, and data analysis and interpretation is your own data that you have collected, and this is your brainchild. This is your own baby that you have created or given birth. And based on that, findings and suggestions will come. That is chapter 4. And there are students, we could see many reports, they write annexures also chapter. Bibliography, yeah, references and bibliography also you can add as annexure. Because from where you have used the data, for example, literature review you write, you have to give as an annexure for your references. It can be bibliography and references, or it can be at the end of each chapter wherever it is applicable. It is not mandatory to write at the end, but you can also write at the end of each chapter if you have used any secondary data for your project purpose. So references also you can write. So altogether, your project report should not exceed 80 pages. If you write 80 pages, it would be unnecessary, and you are putting a lot of efforts, which is of no use. So my humble submission to all of you, suggestion to all of you is not only the students, but also the guides, because some of the guides are here in this session. Definitely, it will be useful for them to guide further to their students. So this is all about, a project report writing. If I missed out anything, you please disturb me. You can call me now. You can interact with me by, raising your concern. Then definitely I will be answering your queries. So if you missed out anything, you please. And then now I would like to say thanks. Thank you, one and all, for active participation. And then I'll be very happy if you interact, if you ask any questions, and definitely I will try to answer your questions. Otherwise, either this talk would be fully understood or not fully not understood. So I must be very happy if you could interact with me. So this is all about how to write a project report. So after listening to why project report, what are the guidelines for writing project report, and how to analyze, that is Professor Patrick was made a mention that. So in analysis chapter, what Professor Patrick suggested, what kind of tool that you should use for data collection as well as data analysis. So now the session is open for interaction. I'll be very happy if you are interacting with me. Yeah, please. Hello? Any participants? Most of the students, I could observe from the synopsis and project report, they write under the head called methodology, like primary data, what is primary data, what is secondary data. Don't write what is primary data. We are not asking definition. We are trying to ask you how you are going to collect primary data, how you are going to collect secondary data. You have to make a mention. Primary data is the data which is collected for the first time and will be used for your, that is, we are not asking you meaning and definitions. So we are trying to asking you how you are going to collect your primary data, or how you are going to use the secondary data, collecting and primary data. So that is how you have to write. For example, for this proposed study will collect the primary data from the sample respondents on the based on the objectives and then analyzed. So in case of secondary data will be collected from the company website, books, journals, magazines, company annual reports, and so forth, because it is readily available. So you have to write like this, secondary data will be collected from these many sources. Primary data will be collected by using a structured questionnaire. That is how you have to write, but not the definition part of methodology. So this is what I thought of, asking myself question, because generally students get confused while writing research methodology, either in project synopsis or in project report. Now, if anybody is not there with any questions, definitely we'll go for interaction session. All the participants and the resource person will be available. Now you can ask any questions. Otherwise, we'll close the session after your question and answer session. My dear participants.
Yeah, one or two candidates have raised a few questions. Now, actually, we unmuted the this thing, for now they can raise the questions. And one question they asked is it applicable for PGDMM 1-year course? Yes, for all diploma courses, the candidates should submit project report. All diploma, not just PGDMM. Diploma in financial management, marketing, HR, and operations. All candidates should submit the project report. Although they have submitted the synopsis, few of them. Now we unmuted the thing. The students can now, the participants can now.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, you are audible, Power.
Yeah. So, right question, madam. Yeah, students might be asking like this. In case of PG diploma programs, the process is same. In case of getting approval, project synopsis approval and writing project report, but there will not be any project Viva Voce examination for PG diploma programs. That is only the difference. So in case whereas in case of MBA student has to submit their project report, which is for 100 marks, and they have to attend for the Viva Voce examination, which is also for 100 marks. And what? Yeah. So in case of PG diploma programs, the students of PG diploma programs, they have to simply submit report, prepare the project report and submit to the department. There ends your job. You need not to attend any Viva Voce examination, because Viva Voce is again 100 marks, which is not there in case of PG diploma programs. But it is applicable to MBA program. And any questions, madam? Did you notice any questions from the students?
Yeah. Actually, Dr. Vijayalakshmi, madam, she raised a question. Literature review, separate chapter. No, madam, separate chapter is not required for a review of literature in case of project report.
I'll talk to that. Yeah. So, and writing review of literature is right. No doubt about it. It is required because to find out the research gap, but not as a separate chapter. You can include review of literature in your chapter 1. That is introduction, where you are talking about your topic, subject matter that you are going to analyze your study, where you can write 10 to 15 or 20 number of reviews, so that you can establish that your study is valid. Because from where review of literature, what review of literature talks about, and from where you are identified research gap, and then you write whatever your studies taking place. So that is good. Writing review of literature separately is not required because it will again run into another chapter, which is not required for this post-graduation level or diploma level. Generally, we do it in case of, PhD because, to keep certain issues in mind, then we'll write separately, including methodology and all that. But in case of PG diplomas and PGs, it is not required. Yeah. Any questions? Anybody?
Yeah, one more candidate has raised whether we can place all these things in the WhatsApp group. I think may not be possible.
Yeah. Another question I received, can we approach a smaller organization where employees number is less than 100? Yeah, right question. Very good. Generally, your sample size should not be less than 100. It is implied that you cannot take a organization where employees number is less than 100 because you cannot study a sample population, right? Population is huge number. Study means representative. It should be representative. So therefore, in case of IGNOU, they made it mandatory that even in your project report, there must be 200 because I guided a couple of students. They made it 200 is mandatory and using statistical tool is also mandatory. But in our BRA, OU and other universities, we are not making it 200 because as you rightly pointed out, then our study may not be useful in case of small organizations. So in case of small organization means not less than 200 employees. For example, I'll tell you, ICICI Bank, because I have a couple of students who did project report on that. In each branch, there may be working 7-8 persons or employees. Then you cannot study. But in Hyderabad zone, there are 20-30 branches. Into 20-30 into 7 or 10, it is again 300 or 400. Then you can take it a sample unit as Hyderabad as a case study. So, for example, CRM practices at SBI, a study in Hyderabad. Then Hyderabad jurisdiction as your sample, where there are so many branches, there are so many employees, definitely more than 200-300, and then you can take 100 out of 300 or 500, whatever it is. But in case of small organization where less than 100 employees are working, you cannot take the study because which is not representative. So please make a note of it. Yeah, another question. Could you please guide how to approach? Yeah. Generally, approaching the guide is the sole job of the student, in fact. Because research starts from identifying your guide also. It is also research, part of research. So if we provide, but what we are doing, generally nobody will give you research guide, but we are very generous to say that, our students, most of our students are employees and scattered and they are distance learners. And most of the students may not be attended the classes. Therefore, they may not have interaction with the faculty members. Then we thought that, we need to give some list of student or guide to facilitate the students. But there are problems in providing supervisor guide also. The students are troubling a lot. I could receive many complaints from the research guides. They are calling, they are disturbing, they are questioning, they are dictating. See, my dear students, advice to all of you is the 111 guides list we have prepared. 111, 111. Most of them, 99% of them are not our employees. Keep in view of this. And we also told you, all the students, that you request them to guide. So you have to approach them very politely, request them their time and convenient. Because we have given list, you cannot dictate, you cannot question them because they are not our employees. Because we are not paying anything for them, they are rendering services to BRA OU students. So it is very serious concern and I'm worried about it. And many guides complained me, given complaint, not it is true complaint, but their concern. Students are asking, where do you stay? Why don't you give time? Like that. No, they are guide, they are professors, they are teachers working in their organizations. We are not paying anything for them. You are also not paying anything for them, but still they came forward to guide you because they are rendering services to you. So nowadays we want to drop the list of research guides because a lot of problems being raised. In fact, you have to search your guide. At least for this purpose, at least you will go and attend the classes. If you attend, definitely you will have interaction with your teachers, wherever it is. But still, we will provide you the list of guides, but you have to take very serious concern that they are not our employees. They are not paid anything. So you approach them politely. If they are not interested, if they don't have any time, they may say no also. So you cannot question them. One cannot question them. You are not paying anything. We are not paying anything. Just they are helping us. So this is a serious note from the university point of view.
ఏమైంది వాయిస్ పోయింది.
If they agreed to guide you and if they are MBA holders. So this facility is also there. And any questions? Next.
Sir, I'm Anusha. Can I speak?
Yes, please.
So, my question here is, how do we approach to the companies for our study? Like, suppose if I'm taking the topic of inclusion and diversity, okay,
Yeah.
As per the current situation in my company specifically, I'm working remotely for many years, and I'm in a very diverse condition. So
True.
we are from all around the world. So everyone is working
Yeah.
remotely. If I want to give a study on that and a project on that, how do I approach and how do I get the statistics of that kind of topic which is theoretical and there is no specific data for it? How do
Yeah.
I do?
I will answer you. Any questions related to this? Yeah. See, ladies and gentlemen, one thing for all the project reports, company permissions are not required for certain cases, situations. For example, when you take some company customers and company employees, then you have to have a permission from the company. For example, consumer behavior towards some specific product, FMCG product or electronic product or mobile or grocery, something like that. Every individual, every human being is a customer. And you need not to approach any company. It is a what you call general study. You can approach anybody through your questionnaire and you can prepare your project report. But most of the project reports are industry related. Therefore, 95% we advise you, 95% of studies should be related to industry or organization because you are going to learn something by visiting the organizations. That is the purpose. So in case of certain companies, some or the other, for example, you want to study on some washing machine product, then you have to approach at least any of the companies, either say Bajaj Electronics or something, Tirumala Enterprises or something or the other, because some basis is required. Otherwise, how can you approach the company or the student or respondents or not? How do you ascertain? So whether it is secondary data, for example, in the case of secondary data, you have to obtain some annual reports, or sometimes you may obtain annual reports from their websites. Till then, in spite of the data available on website, you have to approach and take their permission. Without taking their permission, you cannot use one's data because the data is related to a particular company. You have to have, because most of the companies do not say no to the students if you go and approach. Therefore, I advise all the students, that you have to approach any company, any organization. Therefore, I generally advise the students go for banking. Whether it is what you call banking is a huge number because everybody of us are customers and most of the employees are available and in companies. So try to get information either from the employees or from the customers. But referring to customers and employees, you have to have a permission from the company. Only in case of few studies, you need not to produce any permission letter because general in nature. I think I could answer.
Yes, sir, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. Any questions?
Yes, sir. Sir.
Yes.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. This project work to be submitted before end semester examinations, or is there any deadline, sir, please?
Yeah, true. See, generally, synopsis should be taken care of, 3-4 months before, once you enter into 4th semester, right? Once you enter into 4th semester, you have to take approval of the synopsis. But unfortunately, even today also I received 3-4 synopsis because students are not adhering to the schedule. But somehow we are accepting. But from tomorrow, we are not going to accept any synopsis because next month there is an examination and all that. If we keep on giving permission, when you are going to conduct your study, there must be 2 weeks, 2 months gap. So from 1st September, we are not going to accept any synopsis. And project report, coming to project report, after synopsis approval, there must be minimum 1 to 2 months gap during which you have to prepare your project report. And when it comes to submission of your project report, generally it is also given even your project guidelines at the time of proposal writing. It is very clearly mentioned that before 1 week of your commencement of your examinations, you have to submit your project report at the study center from where you are pursuing your MBA or diploma, any course for that matter. And in case if you are unable to submit on time, that is before the examination, you have to submit at the university headquarters at least 2 days before. Otherwise, if you come on the same day, your name will not be there in the list and we do not know how many are going to attend. And based on the number of student enrollment only, we will decide the sessions. How many sessions? For day long or 2 days? How do we know? So once you submit before 1 week, the examination branch will get the data from all the study centers that these many reports were submitted. Based on that, we will conduct a viva voce examination depending on your number. For example, only 50 members are there, 1 day, 2 sessions. If it is more than 100, we have to go for 2 days, 3 days. And if it is 200, 300, then we have to go for 3-4 days also. So to avoid the delay, and there is a chances of missing your project report if you submit later, because once you submit your project report before the examination at the study center concerned, they will in turn submit to the university. If you submit later, the study center staff may not submit to the university. Therefore, you may not be allowed to take your viva voce examination. Therefore, you have to take care that at least 1 week before you have to submit, the examination starts, or 2 days before the viva voce examination, 2 to 3 days before, during the examination. During the examination, you have to submit at the headquarters, Department of Business Management. Then only we will able to provide prepare the list of the candidates to be invited for project viva voce examination. So you have to submit well in advance before your examination, at least 1 week in advance. I think I'm clear.
Yes, even
Yes,
they
sir.
mention
Thank
the
you,
same thing even in the project guidelines also.
Yeah, it is there in your project guidelines.
Yeah, it's
made a
there in
mention.
project guidelines, sir.
See, my dear
Yeah.
friends,
With the
once again,
very clear.
hundreds of times we are telling you, everything is there in your guidelines. Madam already mentioned, 99.99% questions will not come if you read 14 pages of guidelines. Everything is there in that guideline. Yeah, anybody? Any questions?
When to submit, where to submit, everything we mentioned very clearly.
Yes, everything is there in guidelines because they might have forgotten, yeah, because people are very easy takers, no?
They're busy.
They are busy.
They're busy.
Only professors are not busy, unfortunately. That is their feeling, you know.
Yes.
We are struggling very hard. Unfortunately, see, we have 1,000 students plus or minus, but the participation indicates that how they are serious, how serious the students are. Very unfortunate. So we may have to rethink whether this kind of program should be continued or not, because
That is
unnecessary,
true.
no. It involves finance, it involves time, you know.
Even, okay, we are the faculty members, internal members, we conduct, but all the other externals are there.
Yes.
Tomorrow, 4 external resource persons are going to talk on case analysis in different areas. Finance, marketing, HR, and operations.
To address only few students. So if you are not serious, why should others? That is my concern. Yeah, any questions?
Sir, can we have this recorded session on WhatsApp group? As many of them are like absent for this today's session, sir. So it may be helpful.
Sorry, we don't want to feed you like this. Okay, you have to read the guidelines.
Okay, sir.
It is there in YouTube channel, Baba. It
But
is
we
going,
are not sharing,
it is,
sir.
it
As
is
of
going
now,
live.
Sir, as of now, we will not share, sir.
Yeah.
So for next session, batch students only we will give, sir. As of now, we will
Yes.
not give this.
Yes. My dear students,
Because
we are saying no, but it is available in YouTube channel. It is going live today. It is live. It will be there. So you need not to ask us. It is there in YouTube channel. You can find.
but tomorrow participants may be less, sir. So we should not tell. And I will
Yeah,
hide it
that's
for
what.
tomorrow, sir. I will
No,
not keep it for
see,
tomorrow.
Radhakrishna, we are sure that we are not going to share this video
Yes.
in this WhatsApp group.
Thank you, sir.
WhatsApp group
Yes,
is
sir.
an unofficial group, right?
Yes, sir.
We cannot share. Yeah. Any questions? Radhakrishna, any doubts from your end? Did you experience
No.
anything?
So for tomorrow session only, sir, I am expecting the students to participate more. So for that reason,
Yeah.
if anything conditionally, you can say anything to the students, sir. So that
The only thing is our students are, you know, they are very busy, but still, see, ladies and gentlemen, why we are planning to conduct these kind of programs during Saturdays and Sundays. Do you think, did you think of it? Because to facilitate you, because you are relatively free on Saturdays and Sundays, we are sacrificing Saturdays and Sundays for you. You people are not understanding. So today and tomorrow is Saturday and Sunday. Why? We can work on working days only, no? But you are busy. We know that most of our students are working. Therefore, we thought of conducting on Saturdays and Sundays. But still you are not participating in it and utilizing the opportunity. And you are taking away our time, you know, which is very, very, very valuable. But still we are committed to work for you. Nobody is going to pay anything extra for us. We are not paid anything during holidays. What do you say, Madam Sarita ji? Are we paid anything?
Sarita madam.
If we work
Yes,
on holidays,
sir.
no.
True, sir, true.
Sarita is attending things morning seriously.
Yeah.
No, sir, no, ma'am. In
From the
between,
inaugural session, I am saying her name.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Any participants? Madam Sarita also can raise any doubts from a student point of view.
No, sir, because the guidelines which is provided by the university is mentioned all the points. And as a supervisor, I am also guiding the students. So still raising point is wasted here.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
madam
any
is at
questions?
to both the ends, sir. I can say that madam is the both the ends. Because madam is from the department, she's every day, and madam used to contact good number of students so that madam can express any.
Because many students are saying that no supervisor is lifting their call. They are requesting so much. And sometimes Radhakrishna sir is also calling me to help them, and you are also there. So little bit I am giving my extra time for them, sir. 3 to 5 I am committed for BRAU students. And
Thank
every student know that 3 to 5 I am available for them in college.
So
Thank you
Sarita
for
madam
our
is available
commitment,
during
sir.
2 to 3, 3 to 5. So we request all the supervisors to give, try to give your time. Yeah, otherwise there is no use of identifying the research guides and giving them orders and all that. We have recognized by giving orders. So try to help our students because you are helping the society. Yeah, any questions from the students? Madam? Kiranmay madam?
Which madam? Which madam?
Kiranmay madam. So can we conclude?
Yes, I don't have any doubts. I think we can
Yeah,
conclude.
you don't have any doubts.
So they are
Vishwanath
also
Gaudi
saying
is
that,
also,
no, sir,
yeah.
thank you. They are waiting when can we close the session? It seems.
Yeah, everybody is saying thanks.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Good evening, ma. Prashant.
Yes, sir, Prashant. Sir, actual గా మనకు 6 months ఇది సర్టిఫికేట్ కోర్స్ మేనేజ్మెంట్ చెప్పారు. కాకపోతే మేము అప్లై చేసి 1 year అవుతుంది సార్.
ఓకే.
ఇప్పుడు మేము ఏదైనా ఇప్పుడు అంబేద్కర్ యూనివర్సిటీలో వేరే నోటిఫికేషన్ వస్తే మేము అప్లై చేసుకోవచ్చు సార్ మరొక సర్టిఫికేట్ కోర్స్ కి అలా. ఎందుకంటే ఇది 6 months అని చెప్పారు.
You can apply for any program anytime, and now UGC has clear guidelines stating that any number of degrees can be pursued during the same time.
Okay, sir.
You got my point?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good. You can pursue any program, any number of programs at a time.
Oh, okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Fine. Any questions?
ఎందుకంటే ఇప్పుడు 1 year అవుతాను సార్ మనకు ఇది చెప్పబట్టి 6 months అని చెప్పారు 1 year కూడా కంప్లీట్ అయింది నేను
లాస్ట్ ఇయర్ వల్ల కొంచెం లేట్ అయింది. లాస్ట్ ఇయర్ కొంచెం టెక్నికల్ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ వల్ల సెషన్ డిలే అయింది.
Last year was some technical reasons వల్ల కొంత డిలే అయింది, but now you can submit your project report and get it done.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Anybody? Another half an hour is there. You can interact. If not, we will conclude. And request all of you to join and make use of tomorrow whole day session, which is very, very important. Case analysis, which is the purpose of MBA. MBA is case analysis. MBA means case analysis, practical component, which gives you what you call insights, how to write case analysis, which is for 20 marks in your semester end examination. Yeah, any questions?
సార్ నేను ఇక్కడ చెన్నైలో చదువుతున్నాను సార్. నేను ఇప్పుడు ఎక్కడ అప్రోచ్ అవ్వాలా గైడెన్స్ ఏంటి అనేది నాకు అర్థం అవ్వట్లేదు సార్.
Anywhere you can take guide from Chennai also. If any MBA teacher is there or any employees, officers are there, they must be MBA. That's it, minimum.
Okay, sir.
So but you have to produce or request him to give his MBA degree certificate. You have to prove that he is an MBA.
Okay, sir. Sure, sir.
Okay, right.
ఎందుకంటే నేను ఇక్కడ వాళ్ళకి అన్నోన్ పర్సన్ కాబట్టి వాళ్ళు నాకు యాక్సెప్ట్ చేస్తారా అని చెప్పేసి అది ఒక క్వశ్చన్ మార్క్ సార్ నాకు.
Definitely accept చేస్తారు. You can approach.
మీ ఐడి ఉంటుంది కదా, మీ ఐడి తీసుకొని మీరు అప్రోచ్ అవ్వండి వాళ్ళని. మీ ఐడి కార్డు ఉంటుంది కదా.
దేశంలో ఎవరైనా యాక్సెప్ట్ చేస్తారు. మీరు అప్రోచ్ అవ్వండి, ప్రయత్నం చేయండి.
అకాడమిక్ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఉన్న వాళ్ళు చాలా మంది ఉన్నారండి.
Yeah, there are people to guide you. No problem. You are hesitating,
మీ ఐడి తీసుకెళ్ళండి, కాకపోతే మీ ఐడెంటిటీ కార్డ్ తీసుకొని వెళ్తే వాళ్ళు మీకు హెల్ప్ చేస్తారు.
You show your identity card and express your interest. Definitely somebody will come forward and guide you.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Extend the project synopsis submission 1 more week. Some student, yeah.
Yes,
See,
sir. I too got many requests because after this program, the students may get some awareness about it and they may again. So many students, few students called me today, sir.
okay.
So I said,
But the thing is, for a synopsis approval is already over by 20th of August. Even then, in spite of last date is over, we are accepting till today. See, if we accept another week, for example, we are not going to accept. First of all, let me clear very clearly, make it very clear that we are not going to accept here onwards, because today only I had a discussion with Control of Examination. Shortly, examination notification is coming. So when it is going to come, definitely there will not be any time. If we give approval after a week, there must be gap between the synopsis approval and examination or project report preparation. Within a week, how you produce a project report? It is not possible, right? So we all of us know, Baba, see, after conceiving, it will take a little time, you know. So it takes 9 months to deliver. Similarly, the project synopsis is conceiving. So to get to deliver the product or baby, it will take 9 months. Likewise, preparation and producing project report, it will take minimum 2 months or at least 1 month. Therefore, we cannot extend synopsis. Even if you submit, we will take it, but we will not approve now. It will be for next batch. I given very clear instructions to my staff. If anybody comes, tell them the approval will not be given, but we will take if you submit, but it will be considered for next batch. So see, already we have given 10 days more. Any more questions? See, if we give another week, another group of students will ask another week, right? There is no end. So we want to make it end some way or the other. So after 1st September, no synopsis will be accepted. Even if we accept, you can submit, we will accept, but not for approval now. After again 3 months, we'll start approving after 3 months. Only after examination is over. Semester end examination. Yeah.
Office lot.
Next month, there will be examination notification, and probably in, October 1st or 2nd week, there will be examinations.
Fourth semester conduct class already started, sir.
Yeah. Now the students are advised to attend the classes if you are interested. Classes are going on, and notification will be coming. After a notification is issued, there will be 1 month or 45 days gap. It means October month will be the examinations. So there is no point in giving approval for synopsis now. You can understand, you are not just children, no, you are all grown up. I think you can understand what I mean to say. Without project, can we write 4th semester examination? Yes, you can write. Yeah, one can write 4th semester examination without project report, but your degree will not be cleared, no? Again, you have to wait for another 3-4 months and then you can submit. Yeah, you can write your examinations. There is no link between examination and project report. If you do it, you can complete your program. Otherwise, program will...
Degree will not be awarded. Degree will not be awarded
unless degree will not be awarded.
They clear all the formalities required.
Yeah.
To award the degree.
Is the deadline for the project same for the PG diploma students? Yeah, slightly different because we have given different guidelines for different programs. So
and the examination dates are also different.
Yeah, examinations also different. There will be it is not same, but guidelines are same. Rules are same. Timings are same.
The deadlines are same. The deadlines are different.
Yes. Maybe 1 week here and there, but deadline is same. It is already given your project report guidelines. Radhakrishna, can you tell us what is the last date for PG diploma programs? If possible.
It is also completed, sir. We are taking.
Oh, right.
Yes.
So project synopsis approval deadline already over in case of MBA as well as PG diploma programs. So I think today is the last date, and today also we have approved a few cases, and if any pending also that I am going to clear today, but not from tomorrow. Yeah, any questions?
సార్ నా పేరు మనోదర సార్, సిఎన్జిఓ సార్.
Okay.
ఇది ఆన్లైన్ 24 మార్చ్ లో జాయిన్ అయ్యాను సార్. ఆన్లైన్ క్లాసెస్ ఏం కండక్ట్ చేయలేదు సార్ ఇప్పుడు, అంటే మాకు ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ఏం రాలేదు.
CNGO కమ్మా?
అవును సార్.
మేడం మనకు అడ్మిషన్ ఈ ప్రొసీజర్ ఒకసారి చెప్పండి CNGO విషయంలో.
సార్ ఐ కెన్ సార్, క్లాసెస్ అయినాయి సార్, క్లాసెస్ కండక్ట్ చేసినాము బట్ స్టూడెంట్ అటెండ్ చేయలేదు. మనోదర మేడం మీకు ఆల్రెడీ ప్రాజెక్ట్ వర్క్ గైడ్ సూపర్వైజర్ నేమ్ కూడా ఇచ్చేసిన, మీరు మాట్లాడతానన్నారు, మీకు ఇచ్చినాను కదా మేడం. క్లాసెస్ జాయిన్ అవ్వలేదు.
మేడం కిరణ్మయ్య గారు, మేడం ఆ CNGO గురించి చెప్పండి ఒకసారి.
అంటే ఎప్పుడు జాయిన్ అయ్యారమ్మా మీరు?
24 ఈ ఇయర్ మేడం, మార్చ్ ఏప్రిల్
24.
అయితే ఇట్ ఈస్ గోయింగ్ ఆన్, అడ్మిషన్స్ ఆర్ గోయింగ్ ఆన్.
లాస్ట్ ఇయర్ సెకండ్ స్పెల్ లో మనం స్టార్ట్ చేసాం కదా సార్.
మీ ప్రోగ్రామ్ ప్రోగ్రెస్ లోనే ఉంది, ఇంకా అడ్మిషన్స్ ఇంకా కంప్లీట్ కాలేదు. అంటే అడ్మిషన్ లాస్ట్ డేట్ ఎక్స్టెండ్ ఇవాళ 31st కదా. ఇవాళ
లేదు తను జాయిన్ అయింది యాక్చువల్లీ ఏప్రిల్ అంటున్నారు కాబట్టి లాస్ట్ బ్యాచ్ మనం ఫిబ్రవరి సెషన్ కి పెట్టాం కదా మనము అడ్మిషన్. సో ఆ సెషన్ లో అడ్మిషన్ తీసుకున్నారు. That's what actually Radhakrishna is saying. Classes were already conducted for them.
Okay.
Project
and we already created a separate group.
Okay. ఒక్కొక్కళ్ళు చెప్పండి.
ప్రాజెక్ట్ వర్క్ గైడ్లైన్స్ పంపించారు.
రాధాకృష్ణ, 1 second మేడం ని క్లారిఫై చేయండి, బికాజ్ ఐ డు నాట్ నో.
వాళ్ళకి సంబంధించి క్లాసెస్ ఆల్రెడీ కండక్ట్ చేయడం జరిగింది, అండ్ ప్రాజెక్ట్ గైడ్ లైన్స్ కూడా వాళ్ళకి గ్రూప్ లో అప్లోడ్ చేయడం జరిగింది. ఇందాక నేను CNGO స్టూడెంట్స్ కి స్పెసిఫిక్ గా చెప్పాను నేను, అంటే వాళ్ళకి సినాప్సిస్ అప్రూవల్ మనం ఏమి సినాప్సిస్ పంపించమని చెప్పట్లేదు. నెక్స్ట్ ఇయర్ నుంచి మనం ఎలాగో మారుద్దామని చెప్పేసి అనుకుంటున్నాం కాబట్టి కొంత స్ట్రక్చర్ మెటీరియల్ రివైజ్ చేసి, అండ్ వీఆర్ ఆల్సో ప్లానింగ్ టు ఇంట్రడ్యూస్ ద ప్రోగ్రామ్ ఇన్ ఇంగ్లీష్ మీడియం ఆల్సో. సో ఎట్ దట్ టైమ్ వి చేంజ్ ది ప్రాజెక్ట్ గైడ్ లైన్స్. సో ఇప్పుడైతే వాళ్ళు డైరెక్ట్ గా వాళ్ళ స్టడీ సెంటర్ని అప్రోచ్ అయ్యి, వాళ్ళ గైడ్ అప్రోచ్ అయ్యి, వాళ్ళ కౌన్సిలర్స్ అప్రోచ్ అయితే కనుక దే కెన్ గైడ్ దెమ్ హౌ టు ప్రిపేర్ ఎ ప్రాజెక్ట్ రిపోర్ట్. అండ్ వాళ్ళకి కూడా గైడ్ లైన్స్ ఉన్నాయి, అందులో టాపిక్స్ ఎలా సెలెక్ట్ చేసుకోవాలని చెప్పాము, ఎలా గైడ్స్ అప్రోచ్ అవ్వాలని చెప్పాము, NGOs ఎలా సెలెక్ట్ చేసుకోవాలని కూడా చెప్పాము. వాళ్ళ NGOలు ఎస్టాబ్లిష్ చేసిన వాళ్ళే కనుక ఇఫ్ దే ఆర్ క్వాలిఫైడ్ పర్సన్స్ విత్ ద ప్రొఫెషనల్ డిగ్రీ దే కెన్ టేక్ దెమ్ యాజ్ దేర్ గైడ్.
మేడం చిన్న సబ్మిషన్ సార్ ఓకే సార్, ప్రాజెక్ట్ కి సంబంధించి ఒక 5 members ప్రాజెక్ట్ గైడ్స్ నేమ్స్ కూడా ఇచ్చినాను సార్, గ్రూప్ లో షేర్ చేసిన. సో అవన్నీ
now see Dr. Radhakrishna, don't do that now onwards, because I have a lot of bad experiences with the giving list of guides, because guides are also facing a lot of problems. Students are talking very rough, and they got fed up. So let us search. So research starts with search of guide. So let them identify their own guide. So I want to be very
center. Our counselors are there now. They
our counselors are there who taught them. They must know
the subject.
They should know the study center. They should know their teachers. Then they have to approach on their own. See, giving everything spoon feeding is not good. Any questions?
And in fact, to say our clientele group of CNGO management program is very good. అంటే చాలా ప్రొఫెషనల్స్ కూడా చేస్తూ ఉన్నారు ఆ ప్రోగ్రామ్ దగ్గర. So they can approach the NGOs and they can get guidance from them.
Yeah. So, madam, I request you to conclude and say bye-bye for today.
Yes. Okay. So thank you very much all the resource persons of today's session, particularly our external resource persons, Professor Lokananda Reddy and also Professor Patrick, for delivering, for interacting with the students and for delivering wonderful lectures. And I once again take the opportunity to thank all the authorities of the university for providing us the opportunity to conduct the webinar. And I thank all the participants, the research supervisors for participating till morning in the sessions organized during the day. And I request all the students particularly that tomorrow the topic may not be of some interest to the faculty members, but for all the students. So irrespective of their specialization, we request all the students to participate in all the 4 sessions. Maybe it is finance or marketing or HR or operations. That will be definitely useful for them in their career. So thank you, Professor Pawar, thank you, Radhakrishna and Computer Center for coordinating today's program. Thank you. So tomorrow again, we start at 10:30 sharp. So first half an hour, there will be a brief intro on the case. And then the first session is on case analysis in marketing area. Thank you.
Okay, madam, I am ending now.
Yeah, please.